You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me on another episode of All Things Sports with Mike Davis. I thank you for including my podcast into your day. If you're listening on Spotify, follow the podcast. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, comment, like, all that good stuff. Make sure you go to our Facebook page and get in contact with the show for comments or suggestions. I won't take up much more of your time. Let's get into it. All right, so let's start the show with last night's Thursday night football. The Green Bay Packers went into San Francisco. Well, they don't play in San Francisco, I don't believe. I think it's, what is it, Santa Clara? But I guess the Bay nonetheless, the Bay Area. Green Bay goes in, they get the victory 34-17. It wasn't that close, people. I mean, it, even though it was a blowout, it still wasn't as close as 34-17. But no one really suspected that the 49ers were going to go in and get a win. Green Bay, they got off to a hot start in this game. I believe this was the third straight opening drive game where they had a touchdown. Devontae Adams catching all three of the touchdowns. Now, the Niners came back after Green Bay's first drive of scoring. Well, they looked good on that drive. The Niners, they looked just as good as well on their first drive. They had a touchdown that was ruled incomplete, though, in the first quarter. I thought it was a touchdown, but initially, refs signaled touchdown. They took it away. Green Bay went up, they made it 7-3 as the Niners had to settle for the Niners had to settle for a field goal. But outside of those first drives for both teams, there was a play in the second quarter where Nick Mullins, who, if you've heard my podcast before, you know I am not a Nick Mullins. I'm not a Mullins guy. I'm just not. But he threw a horrible pick under pressure in the second quarter. He got happy feet. And the pressure got to him because he threw it right as he got hit. And he just threw the ball up for grabs, and Green Bay ended up turning that turnover into points. Look, it was Green Bay all night long. San Francisco had chances to, try to stay in the game if that's what you want to call it. There was a play on fourth down where Mullins was stopped near the Packers goal line, turning it over on downs. Yeah, it was that kind of night for San Francisco. It was 34-3 in the fourth before the Niners decided to put a touchdown on the board. 34-3. That's why I said this game was not as close as the score even indicates. Even though Green Bay doubled up on San Francisco in points, the game wasn't close. San Francisco was up 34-3 in the fourth, before the Niners, decided, all right, let's put a touchdown on the board. Richie James, I'm pretty sure no one has ever heard of him. If you're listening to the show, I never heard of him. He has a couple seasons under his belt, but this was his first game of the season as the Niners are dealing with injuries across the board. There were 3 times where he was open for big gains. I mean, he had a huge game in this game. 9 catches, 184 yards, 1 touchdown catch. Nick Mullins wasn't as bad as I've seen him play before. Excuse me. Nick Mullins, 291 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, but his 2 turnovers were costly. And his 2 turnovers led to Packer points. So let's just for kicks and giggles, you take away the points that they scored on the Nick Mullins turnovers. So you take that away. Let's say the game ends up being 20-17. This is why you don't turn the ball over. You protect the football at all costs. So, as I said, his 2 turnovers, Nick Mullins, who fairly played a decent game, had 2 costly turnovers that led to Packer points. Aaron Rodgers did his thing. Aaron Rodgers was Aaron Rodgers. He had a heck of a night. 305 yards, 4 touchdown passes, no interceptions, and a QBR of 147. Devontae Adams, he also had a huge game as well. Devontae Adams caught 10 balls, 173 yards, 1 touchdown pass. San Francisco's in trouble. I just don't see this team being what they were last season with the injuries that they have across the board. I mean, they're missing their starting quarterback, their starting running back, their starting tight end. Um, I believe they're missing a receiver as well. This team is just hurt across. Like, the defense couldn't help them out last night. The defense got no pressure, no real pressure to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers had all day to throw. And this is where we're at with San Francisco. So if you're the Niners, word on the street is, do you bring Garoppolo back next season? You know? So they're going to start thinking about some things going on there. I'm not going to say that I'm not sold on Garoppolo. My gripe with him is that he can never stay healthy. I don't think he's a bad QB. He just can't stay on the field. You know? And San Francisco is paying for that now, as they can't keep a QB on the field. I heard an interesting point, though, with dealing with the Niners, where the Falcons are going through their own, turmoil and whatnot. Was that if the new coaching staff comes into Atlanta and decides they want to just tear all the way down and get rid of Matt Ryan could end up in San Francisco next season. He had his most success under who? Mike Shanahan, his MVP year, Super Bowl year. So, it's possible. Just a scenario I heard. Not a bad scenario, but a scenario nonetheless. All right, let's get into. I want to talk about the Saints and Bucks. That's probably going to be the game of the week. Now, looking at this game, even on paper, I don't know who's going to win this game. My mind is saying Tampa. The Saints got the best of Tampa in game one. Teams were rusty. They didn't have a preseason. Tom Brady in his first game with his new team, trying to learn pieces. So the Saints got one. And when it comes to division games, I don't tend to go by the script when it comes to division games because anything can happen. When you look at it, Tom Brady has Mike Evans. They have Chris Goodwin. They have Rob Gronkowski. Now you're throwing Antonio Brown into the mix of guys Tom Brady has to throw to. Brady is off to one of his best starts in a while. 20 touchdown passes to 4 interceptions. A QBR of 103. So now you give him an added weapon with Antonio Brown. That offense, even though the ground game has kind of been slow the past 2 weeks, that offense is going to be hard to stop. Now, opposing quarterbacks have a 108 QBR rating against the Saints defense. The Saints are 28th in the league as far as QBR ratings. So quarterbacks tend to have a good day against the Saints defense if you can throw the ball. As I said last week, Nick Foles didn't have that bad of a game. The problem was he was under duress the entire game. He was under pressure. The Saints, they're allowing 237 yards passing per game. But on the flip side, they're third in the league in rushing yards allowed per game. But On the flip side of that, Tampa is number one in rushing yards allowed per game. So they have a better defensive run stopping game than New Orleans. Also, don't forget, Tampa is number one in interceptions in the league with 11. The defense is second in sacks with 28, and they're fourth with 61 QB hits. Now, to counter that, the Saints O-line, they've only allowed 9 sacks this year, which is second in the league. And the Saints defense, they had, like I just mentioned before, with Nick Foles, they had 5 sacks last week against the Bears. And they had 3 on Brady in the first meeting. But my money is on Tom and the Bucks. I mean, the defense is playing lights out. Carlton Davis is a defensive back stud, and I just don't know how, if Tampa's defense gets going. Now, Breeze is one of the best at getting the ball out, but if they can fluster him just a little bit, it's all Tampa. And I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna say Tampa gets the win because the game is going to be played in Tampa. That's the only reason. Because division games can go anyway. When you have division rivals playing against each other, it can go anyway. So I'm going to take Tampa Bay because they are the home team. All right, in other NFL news, my Falcons are in the news and for the wrong reasons. Tack McKinley, starting linebacker, wants out of Atlanta. He wants out bad. So McKinley, who was a 2017 first-round pick, went on Twitter, called the Falcons front office clowns after the trade deadline this week, claiming the team should have pulled the trigger when he wanted out of town last season. Now, he went on to say that these Atlanta Falcons turned down a second-round draft pick when I requested to get traded last year. This is what Tech McKinley tweeted on Wednesday. The same Atlanta Falcons turned down a 5th and 6th round draft pick for multiple teams when I requested to get traded this year. I only have 17 and a half career sacks. This is what he said. Now, interim head coach Raheem Morris made it clear that he was not happy about McKinley's decision to air out his frustrations on Twitter. He went on to say he went on to say that Tack will definitely be held accountable for his actions and everything that goes with it. And now we know what those actions are. Tack was fined an undisclosed amount for the tweet, and that's pretty much it. He's only played in 4 games this year, 8 tackles, 1 sack, and that's pretty much it. My thoughts on that. Should have let him go. Should have let him go. Let him go. I mean, you have a guy that doesn't want to be here. He tried. I remember last year there was some rumblings about him wanting to go. The Falcons declined to pick up his option after this season, so he's going to be a free agent. So you should just let him go. Trade him. He's not playing. If teams did inquire about him, let him go. I feel the same way he does. The Falcons are clowns. It is what it is. Should let him go. Why keep paying a man who doesn't want to be here? Let him go on about his business. Look, the relationship is over with. It's over. Nothing can be salvaged between Tack and the Falcons. It's a done deal. So let him go on about his business. It is what it is. Because he will not be in Atlanta next season. And that's just it. All right, moving on. The Detroit Lions, Matthew Stafford placed on the COVID-19 injured reserve list. So he's going to be out for 2 weeks? Lion fans, I feel for you. I feel for you. Because you have Chase Daniel and David Blah. Those are your next 2 quarterbacks. So good luck with Chase Daniels, okay? Daniels is 11 seasons in. Here are his career stats. 11 seasons. Career backup. 1,400 yards thrown, 7 touchdown passes to 5 interceptions, a QBR of 87. And remember, he couldn't be out Trubisky the past 2 years when he was his backup in Chicago. So good luck with winning with Chase Daniels. You're going to need it. So, Matthew Stafford is 32 years old. He has completed 61% of his passes this year for 1,900 yards, 13 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Kind of eh. For all I hear about Matthew Stafford, I would have expected stats to be a little more than that. I hear a lot about Stafford. I hear Stafford is better than a lot of QBs in the league. I don't see it. I don't believe it. I've seen him play. His game doesn't move me. But nonetheless, the Lions are still losers. They will continue to lose. Good luck, Lions fans. Chase Daniels is walking through the door. All right. Let's switch gears here to the NBA. They now have an official start date. Yep, an official start date. Excuse me. So get ready. The National Basketball Players Association Board of Representatives voted Thursday night to approve a plan for a December 22nd start to the season that includes a reduced 72-game schedule, clearing the way for the league and union to finalize details on the 2021 season. So the NBA and the NBPA are planning to discuss the opening of free agency as quickly as possible after the November 18th NBA draft to accommodate player movement with such a short window to the opening of training camps on December 1st. Now, the league believes that a December 22nd start that includes Christmas Day games on television and allows for a 72-game schedule that finishes before the Summer Olympics in July. It's worth between $500,000 to $1 billion in short and long-term revenues to the league and the players. It seemed like the NBA season just ended. So, I don't really have any quarrels about it. It doesn't really bother me if they started in December or January, because most people will tell you that basketball really doesn't start until after football season, you know, even though you're almost halfway through the season at that point. But at the end of the day, it's all about money. You know, the league lost a lot of money due to the COVID-19 situation. And the league is going to push this, and that's what we're doing. The players have, at first LeBron James was against it. I'm hearing now that he's for it, because, again, it's all about money. No one wants their money messed up, and they're already going to be on a 72-game schedule. I'm more, I, I'm, I'm more, interested in that. I want to see how they make this 72-game schedule. Um, are you going to play every team in the league on this schedule? So that's what I'm more interested in. But we'll find out in the coming days how that goes. So sticking with the NBA, I wanted to touch on the Philadelphia 76ers. They are thinking about pursuing James Harden. Now, the part about this is interesting because in order to acquire a player of James Harden's caliber, the 76ers would likely have to get rid of one of their young all-stars, Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. Now, while Daryl Morey, the new president of basketball operations, he's going to evaluate all options. Both he and Doc Rivers have made it clear that they believe the duo of Embiid and Simmons can win at the highest level. I'm going to tell you I disagree with Doc and Morey on the Embiid and Simmons can win. at the highest level. Because if that was the case, they would have already done it. I mean, this team, the Sixers are built for success. Simmons can ball in his own right. He can't shoot to save his life, but he's still a baller. Now, as far as the trade, it's one of those things where the trade really doesn't move me. Because if someone goes, is more than likely going to be Ben Simmons. I would keep Tobias Harris. He has some of those intangibles that not entanglement, but intangibles. He has some of those intangibles that he brings with his game. I like Tobias Harris. I think you put him with Harden and Embiid, then yeah, that team that team is going to an NBA Finals in the East. But Embiid and Simmons, no, they're not winning nothing together. The paint is too clogged. You know, you got Horford down there as well, even though he's expanding his game to the perimeter. Too much going on down there. But again, the trade really doesn't move me. And I must also say, I don't really have faith in Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers has milked that one championship in Boston more than anybody who milks championships in the history of championships. He's done really much. He's pretty much done nothing. He's been Mike Budenholzer since that championship with Boston. I want to say that was 2009 they won. Was that 2009? The name of the game is What Have You Done For Me Lately? And Doc hasn't done much for me lately. Yeah. All right, so that's all I got for you, folks. That is it. I thank you for including my podcast into your day. If you're listening on Spotify, follow the podcast. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, comment, like, all that good stuff. Go to the Facebook page. Get in contact with the show for comments or suggestions. You can listen to All Things Sports with Mike Davis. And remember, it's your world. I'm just giving my opinion. I'm out. Peace.
You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis.